time that I've seen a movie that he hasn't seen
Oh,
on this channel.
that's true.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Relative Reviews. This is my brother,
Fonso.
Fonso, and I'm Jay. And today, what is the movie that we're reviewing?
Knives Out.
Knives Out. So, Knives Out came out in 2019, directed by Rian Johnson, starring Chris Evans, Armas, Chris Plummer, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson. Who else?
Michael Shannon.
And that's about it, right?
Did you say Chris Evans?
I said Chris Evans. I said him first. So basically, the movie is a whodunit.
Who done that murder?
Who done that murder? The movie opens up with the audience finding out that Christopher Plummer, his character Harlan Thrombey, is killed in his room. Then the movie opens up introducing Ana de Armas' character, Marta Cabrera, who is Harlan Thrombey's nurse. She is close to the Thrombey family. They, on the outside, welcome her into the family, and slowly but surely we start to see those close ties kind of crack, and we see that they can be kind of greedy. And Daniel Craig is the
Detective.
the main detective, anonymously hired. And so the movie starts off him sort of interviewing everyone in the family. We start to see their personalities come out and some possible motives for maybe killing their grandfather or their father.
And if you go any further, it'll be spoilers.
Yes, if we go any further, it'll be spoilers. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you watch this movie before watching this review because, well, I think
Unless you just don't care.
unless you just don't care, but I think it's worth it. So, brother, what did you think of Knives Out?
I had feelings about this movie.
Okay.
They were sort of mixed. It was sort of up and down. I was sort of wavering about whether or not I liked this movie. So when it was in the whodunit mode, I did enjoy it. I thought there was a lot of nice little details and clues and motives that were set up. A lot of nice setups and payoffs, and then everything sort of works its way out in the end. When we find out what happened exactly. The film shows us exactly what happened. At that point, it sort of loses momentum, I think.
Okay.
So then we're following. So spoilers. It's the nurse,
Right.
his nurse who he's so close to, and she's portrayed as this sweet little immigrant angel. And so then from that point on, we're following her as she's basically like destroying evidence and like trying to obstruct.
He instructs her in order for her not to, like, her family not to be deported and her not jailed. He tells her, do these steps in order to mess up the evidence.
Because he cares about her, he's like, okay, this is how you get away with murder. I actually thought that was really interesting because he is a murder writer. He writes mysteries.
Mystery writer,
So now she's hanging out with the Daniel Craig's character, who's the detective, and she's like, oh, was that? Oh, footprints? Is that? Oh, and then she just like stomps on the footprints. So, I was like, oh, this is what the movie's gonna be from here on out, just her like trying to mess with them. And so as the movie progressed from that point, I'm thinking like, oh, this detective's dumb. He's not very smart because like she's right there. But they set it up that she can't lie. Like if she tries to lie, she vomits, which I thought was actually really clever. The film does pick up again when it gets to the reading of the will, and when Chris Evans' character finally shows up. He's like not in a lot of this movie, but then he shows up, and then it kind of gets interesting. And for a minute, you feel like they're like a team, and they're gonna work together. And I liked that. I liked when that was going down, because it was them against the family, and it was an interesting dynamic. But by the end of it, it turns out Chris Evans is the villain. So it does pay off, and I did like how Like, it was satisfying watching Daniel Craig's character. What's his name?
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, it was fun watching Benoit Blanc, who's this southern gentleman detective, like finally lay out exactly what happened. Yeah. So all that, when the pieces were coming together and all the clues were coming together, I enjoyed that. I was satisfied to that degree. But what really like kind of knocked it down was the characters.
Really?
I thought the characters were really stereotypical. But that's not the worst thing about it. The worst thing about it is that it's like, just by the end, I didn't really care about the main character. I think the film is aggressively trying to tell us that this girl, so the movie has like a very pro-immigrant message, right? Did you see that?
Yeah. Okay,
so it has a very pro-immigrant message, and it tells us constantly that this girl is a good person, even though she's, hiding, even though she murdered a man accidentally, but still she's hiding evidence, she's obstructing justice, she doesn't come forward and tell the family what happened to her father. If she was so good, don't you think she would do some of that?
Well, she was about to, and then the evidence changed. She
was about to at the end of the movie. The rest of the movie, she's a criminal. Yeah. I don't mind.
Very much insisted. She didn't want to. She didn't want to do any of that. Like, she kept telling Harlan, like, no, I don't want to do this. And then he kind of just says, you have to. And then, so I think, she's not perfect.
She's not perfect, and yet the movie constantly tells us that she's so sweet and she's such an angel. So she's won. All the money goes to her, as it turns out. And everyone else, the whole family has nothing. And then she goes, well, I should help them, shouldn't I? And he's like, well, I got my own opinions, but I do believe that you're going to follow your heart. And so we're like, okay, well, she's supposed to be, the immigrant angel. And they're all the evil rich white people. So then we follow her to the what do you call it? The balcony. She's in the house. Everyone else is outside. Chris Evans is being dragged to jail.
Yeah.
And they all turn and look at her, and she looks at them, and she just
She sips that mug that says, my house, my rules.
My house, my rules, my coffee. And that moment just ruined it for me. And I was like, what does that mean? Does that mean she's not going to help them? Does that mean she's not the sweet, perfect angel that we've been led to believe? Does it mean she's like, screw you guys, this is my house, I'll do what I want? Like, what are we supposed to feel at that moment?
I just assumed that she wasn't going to give up the house. In my head, I'm like, she's probably going to give some of the money maybe to her friend, Meg, I think is her name. Mm-hmm. So I feel like maybe she would help some of them out, but I think overall, she just figures, I guess it's my house. That's what Harlan Thrombey wanted.
Well, what you going to do?
And yeah, it doesn't really bother me. I guess I don't really pay much attention to that plot line as much as maybe you did.
It did not make emotional sense, and that is a phrase that I invented this morning when I was thinking about this movie. Sense. It didn't make. There was no emotional logic. That was it. All right, that's all I gotta say about this movie.
All right, so let me tell you what I love about this movie.
Tell me what's what.
Okay, so I love this movie. I've seen this movie 4 times, I think, since it came out. I didn't see it in the theater, but I have seen it 4 times, and I always recommend it to my family, especially him. I wanted him to see it because I love it. But I think the thing that I love about this movie the most is just the tiny little details that this movie gives. A lot of little moments of like setup and then payoff. For example, like we see Linda, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. When she's being interviewed by the detectives, she says, oh yeah, she's talking about her father, and she's saying, oh yeah, we have a secret way of communicating. She just says that line.
Oh, yes, that's true.
And then we don't really know if she's talking figuratively or literally. And then basically her husband is cheating on her, and Harlan Thrombey tells her husband, like, you tell her I will, like, I put everything in this letter. And later on, after he's dead, the husband tries and goes to find the letter and realizes it's empty, seemingly. And then later on, at the end of the movie, she picks up that letter and knows exactly what to do. So she, gets her lighter and then just sort of, lights it up, and then these words pop up. So she knows, that the letter isn't empty. So things like that, where
there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. Also,
that stuff's really nice. That's what he does well.
Yeah, another example is like the Daniel Craig's character. He keeps saying that the truth is afoot. And he keeps saying it over and over.
I didn't even think of that.
He says, the truth is afoot. Literally, she has a blood spot on her foot. Just little things like that. That's why I love watching it, like, more than once, because I always, I just catch more and more of those little moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to me, I think that's what really brings the characters alive, and the whole story. It feels like you're playing detective, like, you can pick up those moments and then realize what they mean later, and I don't know, that's just one of the things that I love about it.
Yeah, I think I could possibly watch it again for those reasons.
Mm-hmm. So I love the plot so much. I think it's just so much fun to, you think it's going to go one way with, the normal whodunit type of thing, all these interviews, and then it switches, and then you realize, oh, I guess it's just the nurse's fault, and then, oh shoot, and then it completely, does a 180, no, she didn't do that, and it was actually, what's his name, Ransom's fault, and he's the one who's actually the murderer. So, it's like, as he says, the donut in the donut, or what did you say? The donut hole in the donut hole in the donut.
There's a lot of donuts.
There's a lot of
donuts in this movie.
This is probably one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
It's okay that you disagree, but maybe it's payoff for last week when I said I didn't like Ghostbusters.
She hated Ghostbusters, and my world crumbled. So.
My world is slowly crumbling now.
I'd say, it's an okay movie, and if you feel like seeing it, go for it. You'll find it's not a terrible movie. You'll find something to enjoy, I think.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you.
Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.